Author Jackie Pamotse is back again, and this time she actually brought her own snake. Well, she's wearing a snake top. But nonetheless, here on Redline, we definitely do love Jackie Pamotse and the insight that she is bringing us. She has seriously opened my eyes about a lot of things: cults, churches, how to use black magic to enrich your lives, things of that nature. Now this time around, she did a live interview with Jay Israel, and they were talking about cults in Zimbabwe. So this is also going to be one of those long videos, so get your coffee out, get your popcorn ready, and once you have done that, please do me a huge favor. If you are enjoying the content here on Red Live, do give this video a huge thumbs up. It really does help a lot. And also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do hit that red subscribe button, hit the bell notification to be notified of future uploads. With that said, hello and welcome to Red Live.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. I know you were waiting for this family meeting. We have a very interesting guest. We were supposed to have this conversation last night and we were unable to have this conversation, but it's definitely going to happen tonight. And I'm not going to comment on the irony of my shirt. We are well aware that I'm wearing a snake shirt, and this is a pure coincidence. So please don't comment. Let it be, okay? Thank you so much for joining. I'm gonna wait for our guest. Ooh, I feel like sneezing. Yeah, there we go. I found him. Let's see if the connection is fine now. There we go. It's connecting. Thank goodness.
Hello.
Finally. Finally. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you so much for having me.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to switch off the comments simply because I would like you guys to see our guest, and I would like us to have a conversation where we're not interrupted. Then towards the end of the conversation, for about 10-15 minutes, I'll open the comment section so that we answer all your comments as truthful as we can. Oh, my dog. Yeah, so I'm going to switch off the comments for now so that we are able to have this conversation. So just to give you an introduction, the reason why I have these conversations and the reason why I'm so stern on having them is purely to give light and insight to what's happening around the world, especially in the churches space and in the cult space. I've done numerous research with different people about the same topic. I've written about it. There are certain things that I have experienced myself. Some experiences are from friends and so forth. Some experiences are purely from testimonies from other people. Obviously, what my intention for these conversations is always to bring somebody who has some kind of experience and who has a broader understanding and who has turned over a new leaf. So they started somewhere, they did something, and then they went on to do other things, as opposed to what the problem in the conversation would be, right? So I saw a lot of comments yesterday when I posted that we will not be having this conversation at that particular time, last night. And the comments that I saw under that post were, for an example, Jackie, why are you insistent on bringing these fake pastors onto your feed? We are giving them platforms to market whatever it is they want to market. And I purely didn't answer that question because I've always said, and I'm repeating it again, that everybody has a past. Their past is equally important as the next person, and their experience is equally important, because sharing that experience might help somebody who's experiencing something similar in the present moment. So I will not deem myself as a pure person. I will not deem myself as a perfectionist. And I certainly don't know everything. That's why I have these conversations, so that you can correct me when I'm wrong. I can get your story and we can find solutions, possible solutions. Not that every solution that's here is going to work for everyone, but it's possible solutions to get out of cults in particular, or church cults, right? So thank you once again for having this conversation with me. I would like you to introduce yourself. I know you. Funny enough, I met you for the first time today. And honestly speaking, your aura blew me off. I don't know what it is. I don't know what you carry. I don't know, but it blew me off. I had to come home and pray. I had to be with other people so that I am okay. Nevertheless, I'd like you to give sort of a background for people who have not experienced you, have not watched your videos, who were not in the church that you started in East London, who were not part of the church that you had in Zim. Just give them a brief summary of who you are, where you come from, and then we'll get into the conversation.
Oh, well, can you hear me well?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Jackie. I think first and foremost, I would like to say that you are doing a wonderful job, you know.
Thank
And
you.
many people might not understand where you're coming from, why you're doing what you are doing, and stuff like that. But I, for one, will tell you today, if no one has ever told you, that don't stop what you're doing. You are liberating millions of people across the globe.
Thank you.
You are liberating a lot of people out there. And at the same time, we have so many people who are also in denial of the truth. They know the truth, but they're living in denial. They know that everything that you've been talking about, everything that you're saying is the truth. That is why today when I met you, I said, you know what? I fear for your life, because you think you are exposing what people are doing, but it's deeper than that. You are dealing with a system. You're not dealing with individuals. You are dealing with a system that is so wicked in such a way that once you start exposing their secrets, they will do everything possible to make sure that they kill you. You know, if they don't get you physically, they'll definitely get you spiritually. So I would like to commend you for the great work you're doing. May God bless you for this. And I know that a lot of people out there, one day is one day, they're going to go back to all your videos and they'll begin to say, you know what, she was right. She was saying the truth. You know.
Thank you. I don't want to lie to you. The last 14 days, if I'm not incorrect, have been extremely challenging.
Okay.
They've been extremely challenging from a security point of view, from an emotional point of view, from a spiritual point of view. And like many people, I think you've experienced what I've experienced, where you do get death threats, you do get people calling you, you do get people following you.
Yes.
You know, people trying to also sabotage people. And I'm well aware that people are getting bribes at this present moment to find a way to discredit me. I'm well aware. I've had those conversations with multiple people over the last 4 or 5 days, where people have come to me and said, Jackie, I want you to see the screenshot. I was offered so much money to discredit you. I was offered so much money to write an article that is negative about you. I've had people who have said, okay, listen, I don't know what to do about this situation, but I'm getting, people are offering me gifts to speak ill of you, to reject contracts, to do things. I've had that in the last 5 days, and I'm not even speaking about something that happened years ago. In the last 5 days. And purely because of these conversations.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend as if everything is okay. It's not okay. I'm dealing with it the best way I know how, the best way I have dealt with it in the last 5 years. I'm trying to be very consistent with that way because it has worked. So thank you for acknowledging that, because a lot of people think that I start these lives just to rattle the country or divide the country or bring some kind of confusion to Black culture or Black tradition. And they thinking that I'm driving some kind of propaganda to divide people, to confuse people. So that was never my intention. My intention was purely to show you the other side, that they're truly hiding, and they don't want people to know, because that's what they feed themselves with, you know. They use people to feed their spiritual demons. And it's been a very, very difficult 14 days, day and night.
I can imagine.
Fighting, you know. I spoke to you today, and I spoke to other people today, and the normal consensus, well, the general consensus was, my God, may God be with you, because we feel it. We see the comments, we see the articles coming out, people trying to say, oh no, she's just trying to demonize Black culture. She's just trying to make Black people seem like they are witches and this. I'm like, no, I didn't say that. I've never said the Black culture is demonic. I said there are some aspects of Black culture that people use for demonic powers. That's what I've said over and over again. And you are true, and you're right in saying that there are people who will try to distort the truth. I'm well aware. You know, there's so many people online creating these lives with traditional healers and what, trying to say, no, cults are not a thing. They're an African thing, a West African thing. And I'm like, no, you know, we live in South Africa. Can you just open your eyes for a little bit and stop being in denial?
True.
So this particular conversation, I'm most certain they will find ways to distort it, you know. So that's why I would like us to be very, very clear, very, very intentional, and also very, very truthful to what we know with our experiences. Because your experience and my experience will never be the same, but it does not make it untrue. You understand? So I pray this conversation goes well, because that's the intention. I pray that you speak your truth without feeling censored. And I do hope once you leave this conversation, you equally feel that you have done your job to educate or save someone or just inform someone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's start. Where do you come from? Where do you come from?
Well, my name is Jay Israel, and I was born and bred in Zimbabwe. Although a lot of people think I'm Nigerian because probably I look Nigerian, but I was born and bred in Zimbabwe in a city called Bulawayo. Yeah, you know, I come from a family of 4 girls, 2 boys. I lost a sister some years ago, and I lost my dad as well a few months ago during lockdown. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to travel for his funeral. Yeah. And yeah, so I grew up in Zimbabwe, you know, from very humble beginnings, you know, come from a very humble home, you know. We had to struggle for everything, struggle to get food, struggle to go to school. And I dropped out. I didn't finish school, unfortunately. I dropped out when I was in Form 1. That's like grade 8 here in South Africa. Yeah, so I dropped out, and when I dropped out, stayed with my mom. I love my mom so much, by the way. I stayed with my mom. You know, she tried to do everything possible to send me back to school, but things were not so well. So at that time, you know, I started hanging out with these guys who were quite older than me, and started drinking. I started doing a lot of things at a very young age. You know, they used to call me Manane. You know, in Bulawayo we speak Ndebele. That's more like Zulu.
Yes.
So they used to call me Manane. So each time we'd go to the nightclubs, or we'd go to the, you know, drinking places, you know, they would call me, Manane, small boy, what are you doing here? You know, so to try and cover that up, I now had locks. My locks were probably up to here, up to my shoulders. And yeah, I pierced my ears, you know, just to try and cover up the young look and all that. That went on for like maybe like 3 years or so, you know. Yeah, then I remember at some point we went to Botswana, myself and my friends. We went to Botswana to look for jobs, but we couldn't find anything. And then we had to go back home to Zimbabwe. Life was very tough. And then I gave my life to Christ when I got back home to Zimbabwe. I gave my life to Christ. I started, you know, going to church. And then at church, I met up with some people who told me, oh, you've got a gift, you know, you are gifted, would like to help you out. But you know, there's something about poverty. When the spirit of poverty is upon your life, no matter who can help you on or what can happen, you know, you will still go back to, you know, to square one. I remember this man looked at me and he said, at the time I was in Usher at church, he looked at me and he said, young man, you look like my son. I said, oh, wow, that's great. And they said, yeah, you look like my son who passed away. Now already you begin to realize that poverty will make you look like dead people. You know, I hate poverty. You cannot walk up to a rich man and say, you look like my dead uncle. I mean,
Yeah.
it's can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
And that will
Yeah,
purely
so
be an insult.
exactly. So then he said to me, I'm going to give you my son's clothes. Come home, I'm going to give you his clothes, his shoes, everything that he left behind. So the man gave me everything. I took these things to our home. Hey, the rats in our house did a party with those clothes and shoes. They ravaged everything, you know, and I was left with nothing, you know. So as time went by, I met up with this pastor from Blawayo, and he told me, you are gifted, you know, you've got a gift, and God is going to use you mightily, and told me all those things. I've always loved God from a very young age, you know. So um, the pastor said to me, you know, come stay with me. I started staying together with this pastor back home in Zimbabwe. Started staying together with this pastor at his house. We stayed together for a very long time. I became his personal assistant, and then I joined the praise and worship as well, because at times when I'm happy, I try to sing just a bit, you know. So he said, join the praise and worship team. I became the praise and worship leader. I became an assistant pastor. And then afterwards, he actually ordained me to be a pastor in his church. Then as time went by, I'm just trying to fast forward everything just for the sake of time so that I can get to the, you know, to the gist of the whole story. You know, so then there came a pastor from Ghana. This pastor came all the way from Ghana, and then when he came down to Zimbabwe, he also gave me a prophetic word, and he said to me, young man, God is going to use you mightily. God is going to do great things through you. A lot of people will be saved through you. You know, he said a lot of things, and then I said, oh, thank you. So I started moving together with this pastor. And then at the age of 18, I moved from Bulawayo to Harare. Harare being the capital city of Zimbabwe. So when I moved to the capital city of Zimbabwe, I started a church at the age of 18. And then I met up with this family. I'm sure they're probably watching right now. I met up with this family. They're like my foster family, you know. They took care of me when I got to Harare. They gave me a home to stay. Then they say to me, you are gifted, and we don't want you to take any money from anybody. We don't want you to collect any cent from anyone. The only thing that we want you to do, preach the word, teach people the truth, tell people the truth, and then we just take it from there, you know. So as time went by, I remember I was doing that. They bought me a car, they bought me everything. I mean, for an 18-year-old young man who's coming from humble beginnings, I could see my life changing, and so many people were shocked. They're like, oh, is that Jay? How did this all happen, you know? For the sake of time, but the full story is available on my YouTube channel, on Facebook, everywhere. I've been talking about this for quite some time now. So at the age of 19, there's a gentleman from Ghana who contacted me via Facebook, and he said to me, I see that you're leading a church in Zimbabwe. I can help you. I can help you, you know, grow your church. You can have the biggest church in Zimbabwe. You can be like the big pastors in Zimbabwe. You know, you can also prophesy. You can meet people, tell them whatever they want to hear. You can tell them their names, tell them their phone numbers, tell them their problems. You can tell them everything that they're going through. You can tell them a whole lot of things as soon as you meet up with them without you even knowing these people. I got intrigued. You know, I got intrigued. I was like, man, that's interesting. You know what? Come down to Zimbabwe. So I invited him. He came down to Harare. Then I hosted him for a few days. Then after those days, I told people at church, and I said that I'm going to be traveling to Ghana. I'm going to preach. So now I had already spoken to this guy, and he had told me the places that we were going to go. He told me, I'm going to take you to Benin. Benin is just next to Nigeria, next to Togo. He said, I'm going to take you to Benin. When we get to Benin, they're going to do everything for you. They're going to do a spiritual exercise for you so that you can have power, you can have authority, whatever you will say with your tongue. If you tell anyone to do anything, they'll do it without even questioning you. You're going to have a big church. You'll begin to tell people their names and all those things. So I was very excited. You know, I was very excited because I could see all these big pastors on TV. I mean, I used to see all these big pastors on TV performing miracles, you know, telling people their names, their date of birth, phone numbers, and all those things. So, I mean, for a young man who was trying to, you know, to serve God and to do all the, when you begin to hear such things, you know, you get so excited.
Yeah, you get mesmerized. Yeah.
Sorry.
You get mesmerized. You
exactly.
You sort of desire to be on that level.
Exactly. So I started seeing myself as a very big man, you know, upon coming back from that place. But okay. So we took a flight. We took a flight from Harare. We landed in Kenya. I think it's in Nairobi. We landed in Nairobi. Yeah, we landed in Nairobi. Then we slept over in Nairobi. Then the following morning we flew to Accra, Ghana. From Accra, Ghana, we took a taxi that took us to Aflau border post. Aflau border post is the border that is between Togo and Ghana. So we slept over at Aflau border post. Then the following morning, we took another taxi again, went across Togo, and then we crossed into Benin. Togo is just a small city, so it didn't take us so many hours to cross from Togo into Benin. When we got into Benin, we took a long drive actually in Benin from the border post. We went straight to this village. You know, I can't remember the name of the place. I can't remember exactly the location where we went to because it was deep down in the villages.
How many hours how many hours do you think it took you from the border post to that village?
Most probably 4 or 5 hours, maybe five or 6 hours, somewhere there. It was a very long drive. Yeah, it was a very long drive. So what we did, we got to this village. Then upon arrival, there was, you know, there was so many kids around this place. There was too many children playing around. So I said, hey, what's going on here? I asked my friend. I said, what's going on here? And then my friend said to me, the guy who took me there, he said to me, oh, no, Akumbe. He used to call me Akumbe. Akumbe is, Akumbe was our code name for the cult. That's how we used to call each other, you know, whenever we would, you know, talk to each other, like, hey, Akumbe, you know. West African people understand. So when we got to this place, there were so many kids around, you know, there were so many children playing around. So I asked him, I said, what are these kids doing here? And then he said to me, you see, all these kids that you see here, there are people who travel from Nigeria, from Ghana, from South Africa, from Zimbabwe, from Zambia, from Malawi, to come and do money rituals here. So what happens is that upon their arrival here, if their ritual requires blood, if they're supposed to do a blood sacrifice, all these children that you see here, those are the kids that they use for blood sacrifice.
Now, okay, hold on. My God. Hold on. You are traveling to the small village. The kids are in the streets, like outside. Is that what you're saying?
You see, like the village is like deep inside, like it's so secluded in an area where you won't even see people walking past or cars driving by. So around the house, like around the house, there was like so many
around the
huts.
house you were going to.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
There was just too many kids loitering around. So, and then I said, so where do they come from? And then he said to me, now all those cases that you hear of children being trafficked in different countries, or maybe children being trafficked, children being stolen in cities and whatnot, all those kids who just go missing, you know, they bring them to this place so that they can be used for sacrifice. Because in most cases, there are people who want to go for money rituals, but they do not have any children and they are not married. So what they do now, they get to that village and they pay for these kids, and they are given, you just buy one, and then they slaughter, they slit the throat, and then smear, then they use the blood for the rituals that they're supposed to use, you know?
Okay, clarity, right? This is probably a question that a lot of people in the comments will probably ask at some point,
Okay.
right? So you are there to do a ritual, right? And you are able to choose a child. Is there a specific age group that the children that were in, or is it just all kinds of kids from all walks of lives? There's no a specific age group. And then second question would be, when you do this ritual, does it matter if it's a male or female, or a black child or Indian child or Muslim child? Do those things matter when you choose a child for that kind of ritual?
You see, when you get to those places, there's always a temple priest, like the baba of that place, you know, that's what they call him, or babalawo or something, you know. There's always a man in charge of the shrine. So he is the one who determines whether you're going to go for a female sacrifice or you're going to go for a male sacrifice. It's going to get so deep in such a way that I just want to warn a lot of people who are watching right now that, you know, we are living in a world that is so messed up that what I want to say before I even continue is that the physical world that we live in is controlled by the spiritual world. For example, right now, from September, October, right now we're in November and we're getting to December. Already, if you look at the number of accidents that have happened over the past months from September. Now, these 4 months, September, October, November, and December, according to the demonic calendar in the satanic world, they are called the ember months. These are the months where all people from the underworld, the people from the satanic kingdoms, all the occultic people, demonic people, you know, in different kingdoms, because all these people come from different kingdoms. They don't just come from the same place altogether. There's different cults. There's different brotherhood organizations. There's just different places. So during these 4 months, watch the number of accidents that are going to happen and that have happened already. Watch the number of people that are going to die during these 4 months. Watch the number of people that are going to disappear during these 4 months. These are very critical months in the demonic and satanic world, because this is when most of the rituals are done. This is when most of the sacrifices are done. This is when most of their gatherings in the underworld, wherever, this is when they meet. And this is the most crucial time again for people to be very careful out there, because a lot is happening. A lot is happening. Satanic people are out there. They're all over. I'm telling you, occultic people are in the clubs. They're in the church. They're in the beer halls. They're everywhere. They're just all over the place. And they are looking for blood. They are looking for blood in so many different ways. It's either you'll disappear, or they're going to use your menstrual period blood, the blood you see during those days. That blood, they take it and they use it for sacrifice. It's either they're going to sleep with you. After they sleep with you, they're going to use whatever discharge that you're going to discharge, and they'll take that and use it for sacrifice. At the end of the day, you see yourself getting sick. You see yourself losing everything. If you go to work, you start losing things. Things will just start falling apart. Why? Because there is somebody that you met who was part of a cult, or who is part of a cult, or who is actually in the satanic kingdom, who belongs to the underworld. But because nobody knows, because they will never tell you when you meet them. That is why such conversations are very crucial and very important.
Can you please repeat the months again for somebody who might not have heard them? What are these months?
They're called the Ember months. September, October, November, and December, Ember months. You can just, yeah, you know, a lot is going to happen. There's going to be a lot of bloodshed. This happens every year. It's not something that's just going to happen this year, but it happens every year during these 4 months of the year. You know, every year there's sacrifices being done, rituals being done in different places, demonic activities happening, you know.
Yeah, I just want to quickly interject there, because right now we are on the brink of 16 days of activism, right?
Okay.
And a lot of women and children disappear around this time.
Exactly.
A lot of gender-based violence activities or crimes happen rapidly, or you see the increase of reported crimes right now, right?
Exactly.
For an example, there's this rugby player, this young rugby player, who was in a rugby academy, and he was chosen to be a captain of some sort.
Okay.
I saw today on the news that he has disappeared. It's been about 8 days that he has disappeared. Not that I'm saying he's part of a cult or they took him or anything like that, but I'm saying there's a rapid increase in young people disappearing around this time. A lot of young people are equally dying at this time, whether they die spiritually or in the physical world, right? So I just want to also go back to now your journey. So you see these kids in this foreign land,
yeah,
and this is what you're told, that okay, there's going to be a point where somebody chooses or buys one of these children for the cult. I mean, these people travel from all over. You traveled from Zim to this place.
Yeah.
So you see them, and at that specific moment, did you feel like you didn't want to do this anymore? You didn't want to go forth just by virtue of hearing what they were telling you, why those kids were there for?
You see, as soon as we go to that place, I didn't want to act like a coward. You know, as a man, at times you just want to, you know, you just compose. You understand? So I just had to compose. Like, I acted as if everything was normal, but deep inside, my heart was pounding so fast, and I just couldn't take it because it was too much. I'm seeing this for the first time, and my background, where I come from a Christian background, and the things that I'm about to get myself into, and remember, I'm getting into this, you know, consciously, and I had made a conscious decision that this is what I'm going to do. You know,
yeah,
so
you were not coerced or forced
exactly,
or human trafficked or anything like that.
So when I got there, I just had to compose. And then he said, okay, no, don't worry. This is what happens with these kids. So we go to the place, we met this old man. This old man couldn't speak proper English. You know, he was speaking pidgin English.
Yeah,
I'm
like
sure
the
you know
broken,
pidgin
yeah.
Exactly.
I've experienced that,
But now the
especially in
pidgin
Malawi.
English, exactly. The pidgin English that the man was speaking was deeper than the one that I understand. So my friend had to interpret. Like, so they asked me, what's your name? Where are you coming from? What do you want? So I told him what I want, and then he said, okay, it's fine. How much did you bring? You know, but before we get to the how much part, we have to check your spirit, because we don't want to give you something that after we give it to you, you're going to run mad. We don't want to give you something that after we give it to you, it is going to kill your family, your people will start dying one after the other. We first of all have to check how strong are you spiritually, you know, as a person, before we give you anything else. But before all that, there's something called protection that they have to do on me. So the process of protection was the first one, where they were saying that after we initiate you into this, you are going to go back out there, you're going to meet other people who are in different cults. So you're going to clash spiritually, you know. Let's say you get to a place where there is a pastor who also in the occultic, and then he realizes that you're part of the cult, and you are there, you are taking all his members, you are taking all the money, Because one thing for sure, church is a business. Church is a business, and whether people who are watching me now are going to think maybe I'm being antichrist or anti-church, but I'll tell you, according to everything that I'm going to narrate now with me, I don't care. I mention people's names. Those who are part of the cult, I speak their names. There's pastors that have run away from South Africa after I started exposing the things that we were doing together and the things that they were also doing in their own spaces. I'll tell you why I got to that point and how I got fed up and how exactly I got to that point. But for now, so they did the protection part. The protection part, they took a razor blade.
Yes.
Like what I was telling you, that I've got a lot of those on my body, like the cuts.
So the razor cuts where they do like sort of a star on you, right? So it's from your head, your middle section, your arms, the back of your head, and your lower waist, and behind your legs, right?
Exactly. How do you know that?
I do my research. I'm not just sitting here and thinking that I know everything. I really go in and do my research.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what they did. They put the, they cut me here on my back, on my arms, on my legs, on my tummy as well.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, there's this black substance that they use to rub onto my body.
It's like charcoal, right?
It's exactly. It's like charcoal. It's like charcoal. They used it to rub onto my body. Then they said, for now, we are done. You can go to sleep. So the room that they said you must go and sleep, it's a room where you find, those wooden sculptures, like those wooden statues, that they make, like those funny faces.
So the ones that they carve and they sort of draw a human, they carve like an image of something.
An image of something, exactly.
Yeah, like a god or a Buddha or whatever, but an image of something, right?
Yeah. So there were so many of those images in that room, and then they said that's where you're going to sleep. Then they said that when you sleep in this room, you must not sleep with your clothes on, you sleep with your clothes off. So myself and my friend, we slept in this room,
naked together, 2 males in one room, naked with statues.
Yeah, very naked, and none of us is gay, by the way.
Thank God.
Yeah, very naked. Look, things that we do because we want something. You just do whatever it takes.
You go in blindly and you just accept what you asked to do. Yeah. So
when we're busy, so we're in there, we're in the room, and then I was asking my friend, what's happening? These wooden images, there's blood dripping on them. You can feel, you can literally smell the smell of blood in the room, and it was very bad. And they say, no, it's part of the process. This is the protection part. Us sleeping in this room, we are familiarizing ourselves with the gods that we are going to be worshiping, because after we are done with this, we are not going to be worshiping the real God of heaven. We are not going to be worshiping the God of the Bible, but there is a God that they are going to introduce us to, and that is going to be our God. So we will not be worshiping God anymore. But when we go back to our people, we are still going to use the Bible. We are still going to use the Bible verses. We are still going to look. There is no one who knows scriptures like a false prophet. There is no one who knows the Bible like a fake pastor. There is nobody who can quote scriptures like a businessman who is masquerading as a pastor, wearing a suit just to defraud the saints,
Jay, I'd like us to go back to the sculptures, because you said something very profound and something that I just want to interrogate a little bit more. So the sculptures are dripping of blood.
Yeah.
Do you know whose blood it is? Is it animal, human?
At that point, even up to now, I still don't know whether that's human blood or that's animal blood or what, but yeah.
So you're sleeping in this room and these things are dripping of blood. Does the blood dry out throughout the night?
The blood does not dry. It keeps on dripping from the head. Yeah.
Is there a bucket of blood dripping on these things, or how?
It keeps on dripping from the head, just to keep these images fresh. I don't know where that blood comes from. I don't know how it keeps on dripping or whatnot, but That is what I saw. And
So it was dripping like it was coming from a fountain.
something
Because a
like that.
fountain sort of
But not
circulates.
much. It wasn't like that fountain kind of dripping, but
Yeah,
you
but
could literally see that there's blood, dripping here.
okay.
Yeah.
Are you sleeping at that time on a carpet, a mat, a mattress, or
No,
like
no, no, on the floor. On the floor.
on the floor?
Yeah, on the floor. Remember, this is West Africa. West Africa is very hot.
Mm.
So we're just sleeping on the floor, and it was actually very hot, so there was no need for a blanket or anything. So I kept on asking a lot of questions, and my friend was saying, no, 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 don't ask a lot of things, don't ask a lot of questions, because you don't know the
It might come
consequences.
across as undermining.
Yes, so you just don't ask anything. You don't ask anything. Whatever they tell you to do, that is what you do. If they tell you take off your clothes, you take off your clothes. If they tell you sit down, you sit down. If they tell you lie down, you lie down. There's no point of questioning, because the fact that you came all the way, it means you are now coming to submit to their authority. So whatever they tell you you're going to do, you're not going to question.
Okay.
So we slept in this room the whole night. We were there. Then the following day, they said, we are going to now take you for a wash. We're now going to take you for a wash. Any spirits from your family, spirits from your village, whatever, anything that is linked to your family or background, we are going to wash you so that we can cleanse you properly before we initiate you to the cult. So they took me to this place, just a small bush, not far from the house where we were. When we got to that bush, I remember they brought this bucket, and in the bucket there were so many leaves, different leaves, different branches, different things inside. And then they brought fowls, chicken. Yeah, they brought live chicken. Then they told me to kneel down. I knelt down. Then what they'll do was to cut off the head of the chicken and then smear the blood around me, doing this on my head, smearing the blood all over my body. Then they cut another one. They did the same thing again. As they were doing this, there were words that they were speaking. I could not understand the words, but there were so many words that they were speaking, a lot of words that they were speaking. I felt something, during the whole process. There is something that I felt. I felt dizzy. I felt like, the whole place was moving as they were doing that chicken like that. I felt like the whole place was also moving as well, and whatnot. So after that, they took the water, then they poured all the water in me together with the leaves and everything. Very, very stinking water. I've never in my life encountered such, stinking water, but I just had to do it. It was part of the process. Then afterwards, they told me just go and dry up. As you're drying up, keep on thinking of what you want. Keep on thinking of what you want. Whatever it is that you want, keep on thinking about it. Whatever it is that you want to see, keep on thinking about it. So I went, I sat by the sun, not by the sun, but I just sat by this open place. It was very cloudy, but in as much as it was cloudy, it was still very hot. That's the kind of weather that was there at the time.
So, but now, is this like early morning, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning?
This was early morning. This was early morning, the following day, early morning. Probably I can say
but like the time,
6.
like, do they do it around
6 in the morning, yeah. Okay. Now, there's also, thank you for bringing that up. There's also something very important about time. Everything that they do.
Because I know these things are done at a specific hour. And a specific hour means something. So that's why I just wanted you to just tell the audience of that specific time, so that you also explain what time means to certain people in their cults. Spiritually, also time means something. But in this specific incident, what did that time mean? Why at 6 o'clock?
Well, I might not know why exactly at 6 o'clock, but what I can tell you is that there's 6 o'clock, there's 3 o'clock, and there's 12 midnight. These are the times that are given, for sacrifices, for rituals, and all that. I believe that we had to do this thing early morning, at daybreak, That is why, most probably, that is why I didn't ask. Remember, I was not allowed to ask.
Yeah,
exactly. So after the wash, I went to sit there waiting to dry, and then because they told me you are not going to use a towel, whatever we put on you must just dry onto your body. You won't use a towel or anything. So when we finished, I went back. Then they said, okay, later on in the evening, we are going to introduce you to your God, so that we see whether he accepts you or he rejects you. Then I said, what happens if he rejects me? Then they said, now that because it's not the man who said it, but it was my friend. My friend said, you just need to pray that this God accepts you, because if this God rejects you, then you might not go back home. Exactly. If he rejects you, you might not go back home. But if he accepts you, then you know that you are now part of the family. So I said, so what happens if I don't go back home? About that. Sorry
Okay.
about that. Yeah. So I said, so what happens if this God rejects me? Then he said, you won't be able to go back home. I said, oh really? He said, okay. So I said, no, so now if I don't go back home, what's going to happen to me? Then he said, hey, that means you're also going to be used as a sacrifice. Then he just laughed about it as if it was a joke. But to me, I was freaking out. I was now praying and asking myself, why did I even come here? What if, I had a lot the whole day. I was not thinking straight. The whole day I was not thinking straight. I was thinking about my mom. I was now thinking about going back home, telling myself that I don't mind. I can just go back home and just leave. Look, at this point, the only thing I want is to leave, because I'm not sure whether this God is going to accept me or he's going to reject me. Because if it happens that he rejects me, then I'm not making my way back home, So the time came, then we went into a different room, clothes off again, but this time only with our boxers on. Then we knelt before this very big image, also very bloody as well. So much, there was just a lot going on that image, Then they said, kneel down. We knelt down. My friend was already part of the cult, so he was coming to introduce me. And at the same time, he was coming to enhance his own power. He was coming to sort of like, leave an appreciation.
Yeah, like revitalize,
Exactly. And also ask, what can I do? I remember he said, there are people who are giving me problems. I want them to die. That's what he said. And the man said, oh, no, don't worry. Is it a man or a woman? Then he said, give me the picture. Then he gave the man the picture. Then the man looked at the picture and he said, okay, this one is very weak. It's very weak, this one. I'll not charge you a lot of money. Just a few money, I'll just do it. And then by the time you go back, this person will be gone. So
hold on. Your friend that went to go initiate you had to go revitalize his thing, right?
Yeah.
He brings along pictures of people that he feels are a problem
in his life,
towards him or his business or his life.
Yes.
Right? To these people at this, what do you call it? Cult, right?
This is an occultic place. The man you meet is the Babalawo, right? Is the Baba, yeah.
So the Baba says, okay, show me the pictures. He looks at the pictures, and I don't know, I'm just assuming now, he probably sees some kind of spirit within the picture, right?
Exactly.
Sees something and says, oh, well, this, I can predict how this is going to go. This won't even last so long and so long. It's not going to cost you a lot of money. I'll do this for you. By the time you go back home, this will be done. It won't be an issue anymore. So is that what you're saying?
Because when you look at people, the way that he was looking at people, the way that he was looking at this picture, I remember that you see, people are different. There are people who are strong spiritually, and there are people who are spiritually weak. And I can tell you one thing for sure, that South Africa is full of spiritually weak people. Let's talk about South Africa before we go beyond the borders. We have a lot of Christians in South Africa who are so gullible. Gullible, spiritually weak. They claim to know God, but they don't know God. That is why they are led by false prophets, and they will never see that this is a false prophet. There's Christians in this country who are led by fake pastors. I'm going to mention some names in this broadcast of pastors who are here in South Africa, who are part of these occultic kingdoms, who are doing all these occultic things. For example, I know that your audience is mixed. It's different from my audience. My audience is a different audience altogether, but your audience is more on the secular side, and it's more like it's the country, So
I am I am Mrs. Cupcake after all. Like.
I'll give you an incident that happened. A very sad incident. Very, very sad incident that happened right here in Johannesburg, of a certain guy who killed a girl at Sunken Sky.
Okay, I know about that.
You know about it? Are you comfortable for me to talk about it?
I mean, you're the one who is delivering the message. I'm not mentioning names. It's
okay. Now look at this.
All entirely to you, depending on what you want to say. But
okay, it's fine.
My
all right.
God.
Sorry, but look.
I think also out of respect for the family of the person who died, let's leave their names out of it. But you can say what the circumstances are, because I do believe that their family is still very sensitive about the passing of that little girl. And rightfully so, because she didn't die in a peaceful manner. She was literally decapitated. Just out of respect for her, I think we should not mention her name, but you're free to narrate the story without the names.
Okay, it's fine. You know the incident, and very, very sad thing. Very, very sad thing to happen. And when people look at it, they will say this is gender-based violence. No disrespect. I have so much respect for the family, and may the lady's soul rest in eternal peace, But as we are talking about cults, this is also going to serve as a lesson, to all the other people who are watching right now, because many people thought she was killed because they had a fight. It's deeper than that. The guy was part of a cult. The guy was part of a cult and is still part of a cult. When this guy was arrested after he did what he had done, I'm not even feeling, fine continuing to talk about it, but it's fine. This guy was part of the cult. And the way that he killed the girl, it was part of the ritual. The girl had to be killed in that way because it was part of the ritual. It's only people who have been in cults, people who know how cults work and how people in the occultic kingdom operate, that will tell you that this is not a normal death. There are certain parts and certain things that had been taken out of the girl's body, and they were supposed to be used for rituals, or rather they were used for rituals. Hence, the body had to be bent beyond recognition so that the people whom this guy was acquainted to in the occultic world, this was a way of covering up everything so that it will not look like it was an occultic sacrifice, but it will just look like he got angry. That is absurd. That is crazy. There is no one in his normal state of mind who can do such a thing like that. There is no one who is in his normal state of mind who can do such a nasty thing like that. There is nobody. It was a sacrifice and it was a ritual that was done, In Nigeria, as we speak right now, in Nigeria, there is a unit in the police department that deals with occultic people. They arrest occultic members. They arrest brotherhood occults. They go after Vikings, whatever names of the occults that are in Nigeria, because they know that most of the mysterious killings that take place in Nigeria
will be answered by the arrest of those people.
You just find a woman burnt alive, or a woman is banned beyond recognition, or you find that a girl was raped and then after rape she was, killed and then buried somewhere. These are occultic, these are occultic practices. They are deeper than what people see and what people hear with their, natural eye. Unfortunately, here in South Africa, when you begin to spread awareness the way that you are doing, people people will attack you, people will fight you. But you are bringing so much awareness in such a way that people are not aware that most of this is beyond gender-based violence. There is GBV, but there is something that goes beyond just GBV. It is sacrifice, it is rituals, it is a lot of things that are happening. That is, you must be very careful who you date. Who you date matters, especially all the girls who love going after men with money. I'm not saying anything about money. Money is good. Money is good. Everybody loves money. And not everyone who has money made his money through rituals and killings. There are hardworking people out there. But I'll assure you right now that you cannot be in a relationship with a man who spends the whole day sleeping at home and you don't know what he does for a living, but each and every night when you go out to the nightclubs, he spends more than 100,000 rands. Yet the whole week he's sleeping at home, not doing anything, and there's something suspicious. You need to start asking questions. What do you do? Where do you do it? How do you do it? Where is your family? Where do you come from? Other than enjoying the money, there are so many important questions that are supposed to be asked in the process.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Yes, please.
Now that you have said that, right? You were a young person at the time. You had just been initiated in the cult.
Yeah.
And now the girls that you were sleeping with, what would happen to them? Because you were initiated, you went into the blood, you were doing this, you were washing naked, you were sleeping naked, you were doing all these kind of things. The girls that you slept with, what happened to them?
The girls that I slept with.
And how did you choose them?
I'll be very honest with you.
Yes, please.
I'll be very honest and very, very honest with you right now.
Yes.
This is a very uncomfortable question, but I'm going to answer it.
Please.
Yes. After I left Benin, or rather, let me first of all finish the process.
Yeah. I think
and
you
everything.
should. But I won't
Then,
forget my question because
exactly.
it's important.
Then we come back, and then I'll definitely tell you. I think I'm even going to read one of the messages from the girls that I was involved with, back then. Then when she watched me speaking, she actually came to me and said, "Eish, I just saw you talking about the things that you've been involved in and everything. I remember that this and this happened to me at the time. But look, with me, it was not intentional. I'll be very honest with you. It was not intentional. My sacrifice, I had not reached yet that level of, human sacrifice and whatnot. But once you join the occultic and once you're part of these things, there is a certain urge of wanting sex that comes with being part of the cult. It's natural. It's like sex becomes part of worship.
Yeah, it becomes sort of a priority.
Exactly. It becomes sort of like a priority. But my sacrifice and everything that I was doing, they gave me conditions, and they told me that if ever I sleep with a woman who's on her menses, who was on her period, whatever that I'll be trying to do on that particular day when I go to church, it won't work. If I try to do anything, it won't work. The thing that I operate with will definitely embarrass me because it is allergic to the to the menstrual period blood. The other condition as well was happening. I think I didn't block my calls, so I see people are trying to call
Can
me.
you put your phone in do not disturb mode?
Okay, I'll do that. Okay. Anyway, whoever's trying to call me, please don't call me. Probably some of the girls that I met back
Yeah,
then,
who
and
are
they're
watching
now
the
wondering,
live.
hi, I can see you alive. Tell me, what did you do to me? No, I never did anything. I'm sorry. Okay. So what was I saying, by the way?
So the first condition was not sleeping with a girl on her period, and you were gonna go
Yes.
to the second condition.
Yeah. So that was the first condition. The second condition was that what was the condition again? But it was sex related. It was, I'll
Related.
remember and then I'll tell you. So we were in that room. I'm now about to be introduced to this God. They told me to kneel down. After I knelt down, I remember there are some words that they started speaking. You know, in the Christendom, they call these words tongues. But in the occultic kingdom, they call them incantations. They call them enchantments, where they are words that provoke things in the spiritual world. So they were speaking all these things, you know, speaking all these words and speaking all these words, and they told me, kneel down. They were speaking and speaking and speaking and speaking and speaking. Then they told me, you respond in this way. Afterwards, you bow your head on the floor, let your forehead touch the ground, and then you come up again. They speak again, they speak, then let your forehead touch the ground. They speak again, you know, again and again, again and again. And then afterwards, they told me, lay on the ground right in front of the idol. You know, then they brought there's this liquid that they brought. They started sprinkling this liquid on me, you know, saying a lot of things. And then afterwards, they told me, you can now stand up, face the God. And then I faced him. Then they told me, say whatever that you want. And then afterwards, say these words. And then after you say these words, you kneel down again. So I followed the whole procedure and the whole process. Then afterwards, I knelt down and they said to me, the man spoke in pidgin English. And then my friend said, it looks like you are now part of the family. Then I was very happy because the whole time I was freaking out, thinking that maybe I'll be rejected. Then he said to me, it looks like you're now part of the family. And then afterwards, they said, we're going to go sit somewhere, have some things to eat, some things to drink and whatnot, you know, as part of the whole process.
Ceremony.
Exactly. The following day, because we didn't have so many days, so the following day, they gave me a horn, a very big horn like this, quite big. It was quite a very big horn. Then
Do you
this
think
horn
it's
had
a
a head.
rhino horn or
I have no
an
idea.
elephant horn? Or...
I have no idea which animal it was, but it was a very big horn. Then this horn had a head on it. The head had a red cloth that was covering the head. So as I was, you know, so they handed it over to me. Then they said, this is your God. And the name of your God is called Atovi. Atovi. That's the name of your God. From today, you're going to be worshiping this God. We are giving you this God, and you're going to use this as a point of contact when you get back to Zimbabwe. Remember, at the time I'm 19 years old. You're going to take this horn back home to Zimbabwe. This is what you're going to use as the point of contact when you get back to Zimbabwe, you know? So I said, okay, but what about the airport? How am I going to cross with at the airport with this thing? Then they said, no, don't worry. No one is going to touch your bags. No one is going to open your bags. Even their machines are not going to pick up that you've got a horn in your bag. I said, really? Then they said, yes. So they told me every time, or probably 3 to 4 times a week, I must do sacrifices to this horn. I have to lay it on the ground, slaughter my chicken, smear the blood on the head. After smearing the blood on the head, I have to take gin, you know, gin, the alcohol.
The alcohol.
Gin, you know, gin,
Yeah.
right? I have to take gin and then I drink it, then, you know, spit it onto the horn, and then I speak what I have to speak, and then afterwards there are some words that they gave me, but unfortunately I can't speak those words now.
No, please don't. I'll never.
Yeah.
It will never leave my head. If you say it, it will never leave my head.
Yeah. So they told me this is what you're going to do. There's going to be a sacrifices. This is the initial stage. There is stages to this thing. You start with the chicken sacrifice, and then after some time you go to the goat sacrifice. Then after some time you have to bury a whole cow in the ground, you know, wherever you're going to be doing your church and everything. So they told me quite a lot of things. And then, but at the time, I just took the horn, put it in the bag. Then I left the amount of money that I left, and they told me, after every 6 months or after every 3 months, it's very important that as I go and I start making money, I must make it a point that I must always go back there with their money. That is why a lot of people who join these false prophets churches, all these fake churches and everything, once you give your money to these places, it's either you go broke, you lose everything, you start losing money, because the money that you bring as an offering, after they tell you that you are bringing the money to God, unfortunately, the money is not going to God, but the money is being taken to shrines. When they take that money to shrines, the shrine uses your money as a point of contact to reach you. So whatever glory, whatever blessing, whatever star that you carry, it is taken away from you just by you giving money on an altar of a false prophet or of an occultic pastor or of an occultic prophet. So they told me 6 months I have to take. Sorry again. 6 months I have to take money back to them. After some time I have to take money again back to them. The more money I make, the more money I take back. The more money I make, the more money I take back. The more money I make, the more money I take back. That was
because, for an example, if people in your congregation are growing, right, in terms of numbers,
yeah,
and roughly you make $1 million, right, which
yeah,
is fairly possible,
yeah,
right?
not fairly possible, highly possible.
Highly, right?
Yes.
Was there a specific percentage they told you to bring, or you just brought money that you thought was equivalent to what they were giving you?
I think the most important thing was just to get something that I felt was going to make them happy, because now remember, my life is now in their hands. There were times when they wanted to communicate with me, and I knew that they'll come through dreams. They'll visit me in my dreams and they'll come give me instructions. Now do this. This is how you are doing it. You are not doing this right. You've just made a mistake. You are doing this. So I knew that from time to time, I'll see this old man appearing in my dreams. I'll see people coming in my dreams, probably people who were part of the brotherhood at the time. I would see them. I would see these people appearing in my dreams. You know, wearing at times it would be red robes. At times it would be black robes, and they come in lines. That's how they go. They go in lines. They don't go. They're very organized, very arranged. You know, everything is properly. So they come in lines, and then the master will be in front. He comes and he relays the message. I remember the time when I was now trying to come out of the cult. I started having a series of dreams where they wanted to kill me in my dreams. They would come to my dreams, strangle me in my dreams, do things to me in my dreams, to a point where I ended up not sleeping at night. And everyone who was around me, or who's still around me now, even my bodyguard, my security, and everybody, they knew and they know that this guy does not sleep at night. You know, it's something that was happening at that time. I had to, you know, get used to it. And even up to now, it's still happening, although I'm not part of it anymore. But because of the sleeping routine, I struggle to sleep a lot, you know. So because they would want to kill me in my dreams, do things to me in my dreams, I started not sleeping at night. I'll only probably go to bed around 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning, or 10 in the morning, and sleep for like 2 hours, you know, because I was avoiding, you know, meeting up with these people in my dreams at all costs.
But then, can I just go back a little bit? When you're now taking this money to a different country, obviously you're not depositing the money into a bank. How do you get past the airport with so much money?
Well, you see, at times it won't be like in cash, because the airports will definitely not permit you to you know, pass with so much money. You know, or at times I'll just change the money into dollars, because with dollars it will be, you know, fewer
than stacks, South African stacks.
Fewer stacks than the, you know, whatever. So, but mostly it will be transfer. You know, they give me bank accounts, where
Oh,
I'll
okay.
transfer money to a certain country, then they'll swift it, to themselves and whatnot and all that. Or at times I'll actually carry cash. I'll put cash in my pocket. I'll give someone I'll be traveling with to also carry. Then I'll give someone else to carry. Then we fly from Zimbabwe, and go that side to just drop whatever we have to drop. So after I left with the horn, I passed the airport. First airport I passed, they didn't open my bag. I called my friend when I got to the hotel. I said, "Hey, Akumbe, I passed. I passed the airport. They did not even open the bag." And he said, "My friend, you don't know me. You don't know. I can never take you to places that are weak. I only take you to power. This is power. Welcome to real power." Honestly, I started feeling very powerful. Then I arrived in Zimbabwe. Our Zimbabwean airport is one of the, Zimbabwean airport is a very difficult airport. But I can tell you right now that when I landed in Zimbabwe, I had no problems. When I landed in Zimbabwe, I had no problems at the airport. The customs people were there, and I had 3 bags and the small bag that had the horn inside. I just arrived, then they just said, "You know what, just pass. It's okay, just pass. You can just go." I was very happy. Then when I got to the other side, I had hundreds of people waiting for me at the airport because I told them that when I'm coming back, I'm going to start performing miracles from the airport. So anyone who's going to meet me at the airport, you're going to receive the first blessing. So I had so many people waiting for me at the airport. Upon arrival, they took my bags, and then I told them, "Don't touch the small bag. The small bag, I carry it by myself." So I took the bag to the car. Then they asked me, "No, can we carry the bag for you?" Because when you are in this, occultic, pastoral, you become big. You can't move a spoon. Somebody will move the spoon for you. You can't scratch your head. Somebody will scratch your head for you, because to them, they see it as collecting
Worship.
a blessing.
Yeah, you're collecting.
Exactly. Collecting the blessing from the men of God. That is why at times they'll come and touch the pastor's shoes. They think I'm taking a blessing, but they don't know that there is no blessing there. There is nothing, So I arrived back home in Zimbabwe. I called for an all-night prayer. I invited musicians to come and join us. It was packed.
Okay, hold up.
Sorry? Yeah.
Hold up 1 second. What type of musicians? They're gospel singers,
Yeah,
pop
gospel.
stars?
Gospel.
So you invite gospel singers to your cult to come sing in your cult?
I invited gospel musicians to come. They came. Because remember, what they want is money. So you give them what they want, then they give you what you want. It's transactional.
Wow. Sure. Please continue. Wow.
So I invited the gospel artists. They came. The all-night prayer was packed. First time in my life, I walk into a service. There's hundreds of people, not thousands, because this was Zimbabwe, but there's hundreds of people. The hall is packed. Some are standing on chairs. As I walk in, with my entourage, everything is just making so much sense. And I'm asking myself, where are these people coming from? I got in there. I took the microphone. Whenever I sing, I don't know what happens, but whenever I sing, anywhere I go, whenever I sing, it's not, I wouldn't say at the time it was God touching people, but there's something about people in church. They feel so emotional whenever they love the way that somebody is singing, and they have a mistake, and they always mistaken feeling emotional and feeling spiritual. I'll say it again. If you happen to go to a Beyonce show or a Michael Jackson show, people die because they're feeling so emotional. It's not because they're feeling the presence of God. So in most churches that are led by occultic pastors, occultic prophets, occultic bishops, you get to a place where the praise and worship is on point, and most of those people, they are not aware that their pastor is in the occultic. Because if you are an occultic man, you will try to make sure that everyone around you presents a certain amount of godliness so that people won't say, so that people won't question everything that you'll be doing at the time. So the praise and worship, they'll be singing God songs. They'll pray. Oh my God. Go to an occultic church. They'll pray for hours only to convince you that God is here. But it doesn't mean that the fact that you are praying, your prayers are going to be answered by God. No. Because of the occultic men standing in front of you, already there's a distortion in the realms of the spirit. No matter how much you can pray, no matter, as long as you go after praying, you kneel down before him and he lays his hands on you. There is a spiritual transfer. Whatever he carries comes upon you. Like I said, sex is like worship in the occultic kingdom. Once an occultic pastor lays hands on you, you start having lust. Your level of wanting to sleep with men and women becomes so high. That is why you go to churches, you begin to realize that, you know what, the club is actually better than the church, because the way people are sleeping with each other in the church is so messed up. The club is actually better than being in a church, because this is not a church. It's just like a business center where people are just coming to gather to praise a God they don't know, calling upon the God of their pastor whom they have never met, whom they have never seen, whom they have never encountered. But the only thing they know is that the anointing and the power of the pastor is protecting them. That is all rubbish. It's heresy. It doesn't exist. The only important thing that I want everyone who's watching me now to understand is that pray by yourself in your house, in your kitchen, in your bedroom. There's God. You don't need to go to a building to find God. When coronavirus came, it proved to everybody that churches have become so useless. The place where people were supposed to be healed, they were not being healed. So after the service, after the first service that we did, it was so packed. I held the microphone. I just blew air into the microphone, and people started falling off, like everywhere. People were just falling. It would be just a matter of going to touch somebody and then the person falls off. I just go and touch somebody, the person falls off. Some will say, I'm seeing a face of a lion. As I'm looking at you, I'm seeing a face of a lion. Some will say, as I'm looking at you, I'm seeing, they'll be seeing different things. And in my mind, I knew that everything that is happening here, it is not because God is in this place, but it's because of what I've, entered into and what I have done,
So, people in church would see demons that you carry masqueraded as animals.
Exactly. But they wouldn't know that these are demons.
Yeah, they wouldn't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, obviously they wouldn't know. But I'm just now trying to make sense of what they would be seeing. They would be seeing demons.
If there were people, let's say it happens all the time that in church, there's someone in church who I feel is now being against me, or is now beginning to question my source of power, because they are now seeing things that they've never seen. The things that they're seeing now are things that they have never seen before. You understand?
Yeah.
They know me as somebody who just used to preach, pray for people, and just say one or two things. God is saying this, and then I'm out. But all of a sudden, everything is just extreme. When I call somebody, I call them by name, I call them by phone number, I call them by their situation. Politicians, I gathered politicians in Zimbabwe. At the time, there were politicians who came. Politicians who would come see me at night in my house, wanting me to tell them about their lives, tell them who their enemies are, and they would come and I would tell them. So you realize that already, even in the political space, I started dominating. I started having people following me in the political space. So if you try to say, if you try to say at any point that, oh no, J Israel is like this, or we want to do this against J Israel, I'll not only come after you, sorry. I'll not only come after you spiritually, I'll come after you even physically. I'll use all the connections that I have to all the politicians to make sure that I make your life a living hell. And I would speak about it publicly to say, you can't touch me. You can't touch me because I have control. It's psychological. Once you can control somebody's mind, you can control their pockets. Once you can control somebody's mind, you can control their bank accounts. Once you can control somebody's mind, you can control their marriage, you can control their family. So I had dominion over people's families. They wouldn't travel without asking me, should we go or not? They wouldn't move. People wouldn't get married without asking me, is this the right woman for me or not? That's the kind of manipulation that I had instilled in people by using everything that I had to make sure that whatever I say is what goes. That is how the occultic operates.
Were there times where, for instance, now that you've mentioned marriage, and you see a couple who's truly in love, were there times where you saw that the union was so powerful and you said no to them because you saw that they had a star on their marriage? Was there times?
I've done that before.
Yeah.
I've done that before. And there's actually marriages that have also, there's people who are married now. Yeah, connected. I remember there was a girl in East London. Remember now, I'm still narrating my Zimbabwean journey.
Yeah, Zimbabwean.
Then before I come to South Africa, there was a time.
Jay, because the live has been over an hour now, can we start a new live but when you get to the point where when you were in East London, can that be part 2? Because I'm scared that you will start that conversation and the live will sort of count us down and we'll have to cut you off.
Okay.
So I'm gonna give it like another 3 minutes.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna
so
save
let me just wrap up. Yeah.
Yeah, and start a new live where you speak about now you transitioning from Zim and opening a church in South Africa, East London, to continue with the same cult.
So I still kept my horn. I kept my horn. I was doing sacrifices on my horn to a point where I finished all the chickens in these different places where I used to buy chickens. I was even ashamed of going to these places because each time I arrived, they're like, "Oh, Pastor, you are back. You really love chickens. You must have a very big family because you buy chickens almost every day." But they didn't know what these chickens were for, So it went on and on and on and on and on and on and on during my sacrifices. One funny thing that happened, I have a man, he was my PA in Zimbabwe. One time I was going to a service and then I put that horn in my car because I had people in the house and I was afraid that if I just leave the horn in the house, they might open my bedroom and get in there and just search things, So I took the horn, I took the horn and I put it in my car. We swapped cars with my PA and I said, let's go to the service together. You follow me behind. He had a problem along the way and he didn't make it. Then I arrived at the service. I tried to do everything. I tried to touch people's heads. Nothing happened. Nobody fell down. I tried to say to somebody, your name is James. The person said, no, I'm not James, I'm Peter. It was just a mess. Then I remembered that, no, I think I left my horn in the wrong place and that guy must have seen it. Only the following day, the guy came back and he told me, oh no, a man of God, I took your car to the car wash and then I washed the car. Then I said, did you open the boot? He said, yeah. I think they opened the boot because there was a funny smell that was coming out of the boot. I said, oh, shucks. It was a mess. It was a mess. And I knew that he saw that thing and was afraid to ask me what it was. He spoke to one person, the other one spoke to the other one. Then rumors started spreading in Harare that Jay Israel is an occult, he's satanic, he's got horns in his house, he sacrifices whatnot, and he does a lot of things. It's a rumor that started spreading in Harare to a point where it was, I didn't really like it. I was calling people and telling them, look, you talk about me again, I'll kill you.
So you were threatening people to protect the occult?
Just to protect my cult. So time went by, I got fed up of Zimbabwe, and then I said, I'm going to leave Zimbabwe and go to South Africa.
This is now which year?
This is now 2015. This is now 2015. 2014 getting, This is now end of 2014, getting to 2015. That's when I was now transitioning from Zimbabwe, coming to South Africa.
So you basically fled Zimbabwe. Is that what you say?
Not really. Not really.
What was the reason? Why did you really leave in spite of the rumors?
I think I was just tired of being in Zimbabwe, you know. I was just tired of being in Zimbabwe.
Would it be correct if I said that, sorry to cut you off, would it be correct if I said that your greed was surpassing the market?
Sort of.
Yeah, because Zim is very small. In terms of, number one, their lifestyle is not like South Africa. South Africans are extreme, like Nigerians and Americans, right?
True.
Also, the area where you were in was now becoming below your standards, because now you're getting all this money. You have these people, the church is not growing physically in terms of structure.
Mm-hmm.
You have people who are standing on chairs, standing outside, standing by the windows, and you understand it's becoming too small for your greed. Is that correct, right? So the next big thing is to go to the next big city and start over using the same power, but carrying over what you know.
Exactly. I think it's more like it. It's more like it.
No, it's not more like it. It's greed.
Yeah.
It's greed.
Yeah. So I think we can now cut the live so that we get to the part 2 of South Africa.
Yeah. So guys, can you please give us 5 minutes? I think everybody would want to go to the bathroom and have a drink. Or...
So now when there's oils I've not spoken about. There's oils. There's do as I say oils. Oils that
I want you to touch on the oils, the things that you actually got, and the dangers of the things that you got, and what it was doing to the community of Zim, and then we'll go into what happened when you got into South Africa, because there's also an issue of dead bodies. There's also an issue of the red cloth that you used. So there's a lot of things that I really want us to touch on before we get to the part of you now moving to South Africa. Just the core of what the cult presented to you and what they gave you, and the dangers of that, and what were the repercussions of you using that on yourself that manifested in other people. Great?
Yeah.
So do you think a 5-minute break, so let's say it's 20:35 now, and if we come back at 20:45, that will be a good time. So I'm just also giving you a chance just to get back to the people who are calling you so relentlessly.
Okay.
So that you just let them know to give you a little bit of more time. So guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back at 20:45. So give us about 6-7 minutes. I think the next part is extremely crucial and scary at the same time. Thank you so much, guys. We'll be back at 20:45.
Okay.
And this is where part 1 of this particular interview ended. I will upload the second part of that particular interview. It's also very long. It should be coming shortly on the channel. So definitely do keep subscribed, put some notifications if you want to be notified when the second part of this interview comes in Red Live. And as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Red Live if you haven't, and binge watch my previous videos.